Hey everyone, it's Dan. In the better late than never category, Dick and I have finally completed the 2017 expense sheet. While many of the things have stayed the same, a few things have changed, so I'd like to walk you through that real quick. At first glance, you'll see that it looks pretty similar to what it did before. But there are just a few things. So as before, your name will be there on a drop-down menu. I'm going to choose Aviabando because she's my sister-in-law. Then I'm going to put the date in which I am going to be submitting my expense sheet. I'm going to choose April 6th because, well, not only is that today, it's Benji's 8-month birthday. But one of the new features you'll see is underneath the name, it says file name. And you'll see that it's actually already titled in the way that Dick and I would like it to be saved. Just something that it saves you a little typing and makes everyone's life a little easier. So for that I say, thank you, Dick. In addition to that, you'll notice under the non-billable hours, which is where most of you will spend most of your time, you'll see that there isn't a date area anymore. And that's because I don't really need your week to be broken down by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. To better be able to, kind of see where people are spending their time, I need to know what types of things you're doing and for whom you're doing it. So we've broken it down into about 5 or 6 categories. So the first one being admin. This includes things like emails, checking and sending emails, setting up meetings, or just your general filing and organizing. Basically, your housekeeping, the things you need to do to be able to do your job. Now, most of us do this every day, or at least 3 or 4 times a week. Well, you don't need to type that 3 or 4 times a week. What I need to know is how much time roughly do you spend a week doing that? Let's say that takes you a half hour to do every day. Well, if you do it 5 days a week at a half hour, that's 2.5 hours. Let's say you make $20 an hour, and that will still total it up for you. The next section would be meetings, team meetings. This includes things like the leadership meeting, marketing meetings, licensing, or coaching for Lynn's, her group coaching sessions that she runs with the mentors and anything else that would fall under that. Again, you don't need to separate those out. I just need to know in general how much time a week do you spend in meetings. Let's say you spend an hour in each of those, so that's 4 hours, $20 an hour. Now, many of you work on CERT courses. So let's say you're preparing for the Adrian, Michigan CERT course. So you could just say Adrian CERT course, pre-huddle. That means that the team got together, had a discussion on who's going to do what. Now I know it took you a half hour, $20 an hour. Then later on, let's say it's a separate expense sheet later on. You're again at the Adrian CERT course, and this time you did the skills day, which was 8 hours long, and the CERT day, which was also 8 hours long, for a total of 16 hours at $70 an hour. So again, you can see it helps me to have these categorized like this instead of, they don't need to be completely broken down, but it does help a lot to have them categorized in a way that's easier to track for everyone. And then last but not least would be clients. So if you are doing work specifically for senior helpers, this could be contract review, or a skills day, or anything else that you are doing specifically for that group. It's not that we are going to bill them. That's not the point. That would go in the billable section, obviously. But it's good for us to know how much we're investing in the back end to get to the point where we're billing them for something. So this week you spent 3 hours working for senior helpers. Now, if you have questions, this is new. I don't expect everyone to know how to do everything perfectly. And to be honest, I don't know how to do everything perfectly yet because we're trying to make some changes and make things easier for me, but also for you. And so this would be a great time to reach out to me and say, what do I do here? What do you think? And then you and I can work on this together. If we go down to the billable section, you'll see it's pretty much the exact same thing as the non-billable section, except this actually does have a date. And this is just another queuing thing for me to know that on March 28th, you went to UNRC to run a one-day skills course, and then you put the trainers that went, you and whoever went with you. Took you 6 hours, $70 an hour. That's just more of a cue for me, so I know, and okay, I've got to look at this date, and this is what I have to put on the invoice. Other than that, it's going to be exactly the same as the non-billable section. So if we come down to the second page, you'll see mileage. Mileage, again, one of the perks of working for PAC is that you get to work from home. We don't have a daily commute. So we start paying out mileage for 90 miles round trip. Now that is different if we are sending that out. If it's billable, then by all means, bill right from your door to wherever you're going, regardless of the distance. But for PAC, anything that's not billable, we set the standard at 90 miles an hour. So again, you fill out the date, you say to, you're doing it for PAC, you drove to Tracy's for admin huddle, round trip. So again, we have a drop-down menu. We're not going to bill this to the client because we are the client. We're going to bill ourselves. And you went 112 miles. Now, something I wasn't aware of is that the IRS actually adjusts the mileage rate every year. And in 2017, as of January 1st, it changed to 53.5 cents per mile. So that's what we have factored in here. Again, if you have the next day, let's say you went for Big Stone Therapy and you drove to Charlotte Airport, round trip, that, yes, we are going to bill that to the client because you had to drive 250 miles. But even if it had been a shorter one, use your discretion and we can work together because we don't want to nickel and dime our customers. That's not the point of PAC. But we also don't want to put you out too much either. And then the expenses paid with personal funds. This is the same as it's always been. The date that you purchased something, if it was just for PAC, it wasn't because you were doing a cert course or anything else like that, you would just put PAC, what you purchased, whether or not it's billable, and the expense amount. So again, let's say on the way to Tracy's, you purchased a Slurpee, and for some reason you wanted to bill us for it. That's non-billable, and it cost you $3.24. But on the way to Big Stone Therapies, you had to purchase a cake for your training materials. So yes, that would be billable. And the cake costs you $8.97. Hopefully you're kind of understanding where I'm going with this. It shouldn't be too difficult, but at the same time, I know what makes sense in my head isn't always what comes out. So if you have questions, by all means, reach out to me. Now you'll see, as before, everything totals up on the bottom of each section. And then we have a summary down here as well. So according to this, you worked 32 hours, you earned $1,740. Expenses paid plus mileage was another $205.88. Now this is broken down for me, not necessarily for you. But this is the important number for you, is because that's how much money we're going to be sending. If we go to the second tab on the bottom here, the training, this is where you will put both your certification trainees or mentees, as well as recertification. So again, you just put the date that you met with the person, with whom you met, and then you choose from the drop-down menu what course it was, and at the very bottom you'll see is recertification. From the fee, there's also a drop-down menu. You have $90 for your certification mentees, $75. This is for someone that you're doing a recertification for, you've got your $50 plus you got the $25 incentive, according to Tracy. $50 if you got the recertification without the incentive, or $25 if it's just the incentive. That would be a very strange case, but more if you forgot to bill previously. So we'll say I got the incentive for Benjamin, or Abby got the incentive for Benjamin, so it's $75. So you'll see $75 here, and when we go back to expenses, you'll see that $75 has been added here. The hours haven't changed, but the currency has. Now the tables, you don't have to worry about it, this third tab. That's simply to populate our drop-down menus. But the expenses and training, that's where most of you will be needing it. Now if we scroll all the way back to the top, you'll see that the file name has now adjusted. So not only does it have the date and Abby's name, it also has the money due to it. Again, just a way that Dick was able to set it up to make our lives easier. You also notice there's a big old save button right here in the middle. This basically works as save as. So if you click on it, you'll see a folder comes up, and you can choose which folder to do it. I'm a bit of a nerd, so I actually have all these folders set up already, and I set it up in my own particular way. You do it in the way that works best for you. But you'll see the expense, the file name has already been there, so I just click save. And that's it. That's how you fill out the expense sheet. Now, if you do have receipts, that's a separate thing. I'm going to use Leslie as an example because she does an amazing job of making it very easy on me. And according to the instructions, the guidelines that I send out, this is how I'd like you to do it. So you'll see here, Leslie has her expense sheet. Then she has one that's just titled Receipts. And that includes all of them. That's all of the receipts that she has. Now you'll see she actually sends 3 separate files on top of that. She has the receipts broken down for one client, receipts broken out for a second client, and receipts broken out for a third client. Now very rarely are independent contractors going to have receipts for several different billable clients. And that's all that this is when the clients are billable, that's when it's helpful to have them separated. If they're just going to PAC, if they're just for me to see, then one file is fine. But if I need to send them out, then having them broken down on these 3 separate files is fine. What I would ask, though, is in the billable section, in the expenses section, where you have them, please put the receipts in the order that they show up on your sheet. So I don't have to find receipt 1 on page 7, receipt 2 on page 1. Again, it's just an ease and convenience thing. So I'd ask you to do that. And please make each receipt, Angie, it's my turn. Please make each receipt its own page. You know, it's hard to find when people have about 6 or 7 receipts taped to one page, and I've got to kind of hunt and search for them. Each receipt can be its own page, except if you go out to eat and you have a receipt that shows what food was ordered and then a separate receipt that shows the tip and the total. Those you can put right next to each other so that it's a little easier to see. And a quick reminder that we don't bill our clients for alcohol, and PAC does not pay for alcohol. So if you want a glass of wine or a beer or something after a day, that's on you. Just realize that we're not going to pay for it, nor are we going to bill our clients for it. I understand that, you know, there's times after a cert course that Tifa takes the team out and she buys people drinks and everything. That's fine. But as a general rule, we do not pay for alcohol. I believe that's about it. And the one last thing too is the file name, the expense 2017, blah, blah, blah. That should also be the subject line of your email. Exactly that. Expense 2017, the date that you're sending it, your name, and the amount owed. That helps both Dick and I keep them organized in our inbox and make sure that we're double checking each other to make sure that you're getting the correct amount. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me by phone, by email, text, whatever, and we'll work it out together. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.